Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Glenn Youngkin, 2 new polls came out within the past hour. I wasn't actually planning on making a video today, but I felt like this needed to be covered because not only is Youngkin up, he is up big time in both polls. One of them, yes, is a Republican internal. It's not a Youngkin internal. I believe it's an internal for the lieutenant governor who is in fairly good position. But still, it's important to analyze. And then you have another poll out of Fox News, which is not a Republican-leaning pollster. This is a misconception. A lot of people think Fox News, because Fox News has a Republican-leaning bias in the network, that there's some, pollster that overestimates Republicans. They really haven't been. In fact, they contract their polling to a never-Trump firm that's leaned left over the past 5 years or so. And that's showing Glenn Youngkin up, not by 1, not by 2, but by 8. And Terry McAuliffe, in the poll 2 weeks ago, that everybody on the right was freaking out about, was up by 5 in that poll. So we're seeing a massive energy shift, even over the past 2 weeks, in a lot of these pollsters. And we know that in Virginia, typically the pollsters tend to underestimate the party that has the energy factor. 2017, they underestimated the Democrats. 2013, they underestimated the Republicans. But as of right now, there's a Democrat trifecta in Washington. Republicans have the energy factor, and that only can boost Glenn Youngkin. So when we're seeing polls that are coming out that have him up by 4, that have him up by 8, that is big news. And yeah, we know Fox's polls are fairly volatile. We understand that. This is probably going to be the last poll they release, and this is a very bold poll. It has Youngkin up by 8 points, but we know, we look at the shift on the ground, we see what's happening. Democrats in the early vote not showing up at the rates that they should. And we're at a point where they are trying to tie Youngkin to Trump, and they are doing so in a fairly abysmal fashion, to the point where I don't think that any independent is going to be swayed by that at this point. And in these recent polls that are being released, Youngkin is up by a massive margin. So I wanted to analyze this first poll because this, like I said, it is an internal poll. Typically what you do for internal polls is you do subtract around 5 points for the side that's conducting the poll, which essentially would put this poll as a virtual tie within the margin of error. I don't think Glenn Youngkin's going to win by 4. I don't think he's going to win by 8. I don't even think he's guaranteed to win. But right now, if there's these polls coming out, yeah, I'd say maybe it's at least a 55% chance at the moment if these polls continue to mount leading up to the election. And the early vote ends, I believe, on Saturday's the last day. And if Democrats don't get above 1 million in the early vote, then it's very possible, yeah, Youngkin would be favored. Because right now, they've been seeing a surge. They're still not to 800,000, and there's only 2 days left. And I don't think they're going to get 100,000 in each of those days. Maybe they will, but even then it might not be enough. It really depends on turnout on Election Day, because in 2020, keep this in mind, there were almost 3 million early votes cast. 2017, there were 2.6 million total votes cast. And if we see turnout in 2021 that's in line with that, and a lot of the votes that are going to be coming on Election Day, then Youngkin should be in a pretty good spot. So if he does end up winning by a few points like this, I would not be entirely surprised, even though I don't believe it's guaranteed to happen. So that's kind of my takeaway for the first poll. The second poll is really interesting. Like I said, Fox, they're very volatile, but still, they're not a right-leaning pollster. But there's a massive discrepancy between registered voters and likely voters. A lot of Democrats feel disillusioned with Terry McAuliffe. In this poll in particular, Princess Blanding, the third-party Liberation Party candidate, is actually doing fairly well. I don't know how much she's going to get, but still, a couple percentage points, that could definitely determine the outcome. But you see a massive shift between mid-October and right now when it comes down to this Virginia governor's race poll, because this is incredible. And you see it. You look at Hispanic voters, Youngkin is roughly running even. If that's the case, Fairfax County is going to narrow significantly. We don't know if it's going to be. When you look at choice for governor among families, among Virginia parents, you saw that gaffe in the debate with Terry McAuliffe, saying that he doesn't want parents to be involved in what the schools are teaching your children. Guess what happened? Glenn Youngkin surged among Virginia parents. And Glenn Youngkin is capitalizing off of this issue significantly. And you're seeing this right here. So on the economy, Youngkin's winning by 11, it says. Even when it comes to COVID, Youngkin is leading on that issue by 1 point, which is incredible. And like I said, it's not just one poll. It's pretty much every poll. And Youngkin is winning on every issue. Crime, the economy, education, you name it. Because these are all issues that are very prevalent right now. And they're very pressing. Even though McAuliffe is favored among, young people, he's only favored among young people by 10. He's only favored among suburban women by 9. He is technically favored by moderates, but moderate, ideologically speaking, is not the same as an independent, which is also important to note. And even then, he's not doing nearly as well compared to where he would need to be doing for a Democratic candidate. So it's kind of an incredible shift that we're seeing right now. I mean, you look at what's going on with the shift that we're seeing. Ed Giuseppe in 2017 won men by 3 points. Youngkin is winning them by 16 right now. He's doing better with pretty much every group compared to what we saw in 2017. And that's going to be what's going to carry him to victory, assuming he does win at this point, which is not a sure thing. But we are seeing a massive shift across every pollster in favor of Glenn Youngkin. And like I said, the early vote is fairly abysmal. Again, this early vote includes in-person early voting, which in-person early voting is not as Democrat-heavy as the mail-in ballot voting, which, by the way, mail-in requests that deadline is already passed. So we're seeing mostly in-person early voting that's happening. That's going to be roughly 50-50. And what we see from this point forward is mainly going to be voting on election day. It depends. If Youngkin's got a good operation, turns people out, it's wraps, it's over. If he's not able to turn out voters compared to where we think, then maybe he might be in some trouble come November 2nd. But I'm actually fairly confident I can say that. You have Fairfax County, Nova, they're going to be reporting the mail-ins first on election night. I do have to say, which is actually an improvement compared to what we saw in 2016. And you see these polls that come out and show that Youngkin's up by 4, maybe even 8. I don't know if he's going to win by 8. Probably going to win by less than 2. But still, these are important to analyze because even the election mafia, those pollsters in the aggregate are showing it either tied or Youngkin up significantly, which is just so incredible to see. And we're going to watch what happens on election day. One more thing I wanted to talk about, Democrats' desperation. And you had a lot of the neo-never-Trumper, neocon types that just piled on because of this message and threw a temper tantrum because Trump decided to say, see you soon, Arlington. People thought that Trump was going to do a rally in Nova for Glenn Youngkin, which is not going to happen. Youngkin would not do that, more likely than not, for one. Number 2, Trump has stayed out of this race significantly. Number 3, Veterans Day is coming up pretty soon. It's pretty obvious that Trump is going to go into Arlington for that. They wouldn't let him hold a rally in Arlington. Arlington is a very liberal area. That's where the bureaucratic class is. There's no way he would do that. If he was going to hold a rally for Youngkin, Youngkin wouldn't be there, and it would be in rural Western Virginia. And that may, if anything, have been a net positive, as highly respected pollster Richard Barris pointed out. But even so, Trump's not going to do that. People read too much into these statements. They take it both on the right, the neocons, the never-Trumpers on the right, and the people on the left who will try and tie Youngkin to Trump and fail miserably. They'll desperately try and they'll desperately do it. It's not going to happen. Terry McAuliffe is awful. He's not popular. He wasn't a good governor. He's a terrible campaigner. And Glenn Youngkin in the lead. Can he finish? It's the home stretch, Glenn. You can do it. If anybody can do it, it's you. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.